When I opened the gift box my parents gave me, I froze. Inside wasn't a watch, a dress, or even something thoughtful. It was a book. The title burned in my eyes. How to Grow Up. Everyone around the table laughed. My mom smirked. You really need it, Brittany. Maybe it'll finally teach you responsibility. My dad added, You're 25, still jobless, still living off us. It's time to learn how adults live. If you're still watching, hit the like button. You're about to see how this story turns around fast. Stay till the end, you'll love the twist. Their laughter echoed through my head all night. I didn't say a word. I just smiled and placed the book gently back into the box. But inside something snapped. They had no idea that for months, I'd been working silently, building something they thought was impossible for someone lazy like me. Every night while they slept, I coded, designed, and brainstormed. I sold my old laptop, saved up every penny, and started an online business. No one knew about it, not even my best friend. I stayed quiet, because I wanted the results to speak louder than any argument ever could. Days turned into months, and my small idea started catching fire. Orders came in faster than I could manage. I hired freelancers, expanded my reach, and one morning, I woke up to see my brand featured on a major business page, right next to the company my dad had admired for years. But I didn't tell anyone. I still acted like the same Brittany they mocked, quiet, clueless, immature, because I was waiting for the perfect day to return that book. And that day came faster than they ever expected. Her mother's fake smile faded the moment Brittany entered the living room. Oh, look, our independent daughter finally decided to join us, her mom said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Her father chuckled. Don't forget to thank us, Brittany. That book we gave you did more than your useless degree ever did. Everyone laughed. Brittany just stood there, gripping her tote bag so tight her knuckles turned white. Her younger brother, Adam, leaned back on the couch and smirked. So, Miss Grown-Up, what are you doing these days? Still struggling with that. What was it? Handmade soap thing? Laughter filled the room again. Brittany's throat burned, but she didn't say a word. She just looked at them, every face mocking her, and smiled faintly. Yeah, she said softly, still struggling. But deep inside, she knew something they didn't. Her parents thought she'd failed. They had no idea she'd turned that handmade soap thing into a multi-million-dollar skincare brand, one that celebrities secretly endorsed under NDAs. For 2 years, she worked in silence, hiding every success from them. She remembered all the nights they told her she'd end up working in a grocery store. Those words were fuel, the kind that burned quietly but powerfully. As the dinner went on, her mom bragged about Adam's promotion, her father boasted about his new property deal, and Brittany sat quietly, pretending to scroll through her phone. Then Adam said it again, loud enough for everyone to hear. Maybe if you read How to Grow Up again, you'll finally learn something useful. Everyone laughed, but Brittany didn't react. She simply opened her phone, went to her banking app, and checked the live balance. $14.7 million. She smiled, not the fake one she'd used for years, but a real one, small and dangerous. Her dad noticed and frowned. What's so funny? He asked. Brittany looked up, her tone calm but sharp. You'll see, she said. I finally learned how to grow up. The table went silent for a second. Her mom raised an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Brittany leaned back, taking a deep breath. It means... She paused, her eyes glinting with quiet confidence. The company that just bought your precious property deal belongs to me. The sound of her father's fork dropping onto the plate was the only thing that broke the silence. Her father froze mid-motion, his hand trembling slightly as he stared at Brittany. What did you just say? He stuttered. Her mother's smirk disappeared, replaced by disbelief. Don't joke about things like that, Brittany. You don't even have a proper job. Brittany stayed calm, her tone steady. You're right, Mom, I don't have a job. I own a company. She took out her phone, tapped the screen, and turned it toward them. The logo appeared, Pure Lux Organics, followed by an article headline, Young Entrepreneur Brittany Green Acquires. Lincoln Estates for $12.5 million cash deal. Her father's face drained of color. Lincoln Estates? he whispered. That's my property deal, Brittany nodded. Was your deal. You tried to buy it through contacts, remember? But your buyer backed out, because my company offered double the amount, up front. She smiled slightly. Guess I finally grew up. The silence that followed was deafening. Her mother tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. This is ridiculous. You expect us to believe you earned millions selling soap? Brittany looked directly into her mother's eyes. Not soap, a luxury skincare brand. Every major influencer uses my products, quietly, because I pay them more than the brands you worship on TV. Her brother scoffed. You're lying. You can't even handle a family dinner without looking nervous. Brittany's gaze shifted to him. You're right. I used to get nervous when I cared about your opinion. She stood up slowly, her voice firm but calm. But now I'm the investor behind the company that sponsors your bank. The card you used to buy your new car last week? That money passed through my company first. Adam blinked, his smirk fading. What are you talking about? Check the transaction route, Brittany said. Green Holdings, that's me. Her father slammed his hand on the table. This is some kind of game, Brittany. You're trying to humiliate us in front of our guests? The guests, who had been silent, began whispering. One of them leaned forward and said quietly, She's not lying. I read about her in Forbes' top 30 women entrepreneurs under 30. Her mother turned pale. Forbes? She repeated as if the word itself was poison. Brittany nodded slowly. That's the part you missed while you were too busy laughing at me. She looked around the table, her tone now sharper, colder. You taught me how to grow up, remember? But you forgot to mention. Growing up means learning when to let go of people who only believe in you when you're small. Her father tried to speak, but his voice cracked. Why didn't you tell us? Because you wouldn't have believed me, she said softly. You never believed in me when I needed it, so I built something you couldn't ignore. Then she took her purse, placed a small envelope on the table, and said, Here's a little something to help with your property taxes. Consider it a thank you gift. For the book. As she turned to leave, her mother's voice trembled behind her. Brittany, wait! Brittany stopped at the door, her back still facing them. No, she said quietly. You wanted me to grow up. I finally did. The next morning, Brittany woke up to hundreds of missed calls and messages. Her parents, her brother, even distant relatives who hadn't spoken to her in years were suddenly worried and wanted to talk. But she ignored them all. She sat by the window of her penthouse apartment, sipping coffee, watching the sunrise over the city skyline. The same city she had once dreamed of conquering while sleeping in her parents' basement. Her assistant Ava entered holding a tablet. Brittany, Forbes wants to do a follow-up interview. They said the article about your confrontation at the dinner went viral overnight. Everyone's talking about you. Brittany smiled faintly. Of course they are. She took the tablet, scanning the headline. The girl her parents mocked now owns their dreams. Ava grinned. So, what do you want me to do about your parents' calls? They've been trying nonstop. Block them for now, Brittany said calmly. They only remember I exist when I'm useful. Ava hesitated. You sure? I mean, that video from the dinner is everywhere. They must be embarrassed. That's their lesson, Brittany replied coldly. They wanted to teach me how to grow up. Now they can learn how it feels to be left behind. She stood and walked toward a large glass board filled with business charts and future plans. We're launching in Europe next month, right? Yes, Ava said. But there's another issue. Mr. Green, your father, tried to approach your investors. He's offering them deals to pull out of your next expansion. Brittany let out a dry laugh. He's still trying to control something he doesn't understand. Her eyes hardened. Fine, we'll go public earlier than planned. Announce the IPO next week. That'll shut him down completely. Ava blinked. That's a huge move. Are you sure? Brittany's tone was calm, but her words carried fire. They thought I was too soft. Too emotional, but emotion is what made me strong. Every insult they threw at me became fuel, and now I'm burning brighter than they ever imagined. Later that evening, she got a message from her brother, Adam. Mom's not doing well. She's been crying since last night. Can you please come home? Dad's a mess, too. For a moment, Brittany felt a flicker of old pain, that ache that used to come every time she wanted their approval. But it disappeared as quickly as it came. She typed back, "Tell them I'm busy. Some of us are still growing up." The next day, during a live interview, the host asked her, "Brittany, if your parents are watching this right now, what would you say to them?" Brittany smiled gently, her voice calm but sharp enough to pierce. "I'd say, thank you, because sometimes you need to be broken by the people closest to you to discover what you're truly made of. They gave me a book about growing up, and I did. Just not in the way they expected." The audience went silent for a moment, then burst into applause. Cameras flashed, hashtags exploded online, and in that single moment, Brittany realized something. She didn't need their validation anymore. She was the validation. That night, Brittany's phone buzzed again. This time, a private number. She hesitated, then answered. "Brittany?" It was her mother's trembling voice. "Please, just listen. We didn't mean to hurt you. Your father, he didn't know what he was doing." Brittany leaned back on her couch, the lights of the city flickering behind her like ghosts of the past. "You didn't know what you were doing for 10 years straight, Mom. You called me a failure when I needed help. You laughed when I started my business. And now that people know my name, suddenly you care." Her mother sniffled. "We were scared. You were wasting your time and your father thought I wasn't good enough?" Brittany cut in. "Yeah, I remember." There was silence on the line. Then her mother whispered, "He's sick, Brittany. The stress, the news, it's too much for him." Brittany froze. For a moment, the strong wall she'd built began to crack. Memories rushed in. Her father teaching her how to ride a bike, cheering at her school play, before everything changed. "I'll send someone to help," she said finally, her tone soft but firm. "But I'm not coming home." "Please," her mother begged. "He just wants to see you once." Brittany ended the call quietly and placed the phone face down. Her heart was heavy, but she couldn't afford to go back. Not yet. Not when her entire life was built on proving she didn't need them. The next day, Ava entered her office looking uneasy. "You need to see this," she said, handing Brittany a newspaper. Front page headline, "Brittany Green's father speaks out. She forgot her family after success." Brittany's jaw clenched. "Of course he did," she muttered. Ava frowned. "He's saying you cut them off for fame. People online are starting to question the story from your side." Brittany stared at the headline for a long moment, then looked up, eyes burning with determination. "If he wants to play games, I'll show him what real power looks like." Ava blinked. "What are you planning?" Brittany stood up, walked to the window, and said coldly, "It's time they see the truth. Not from interviews, not from words, then from results. I built everything they said I couldn't. Now, I'll make sure the world knows who tried to destroy me before I rose." Ava nodded slowly, realizing that Brittany wasn't just defending her name. She was preparing her final move. Her mother's call, her father's headline, the public's curiosity, all of it was now fuel for her next revelation. And this time, she wasn't just going to defend herself. She was going to expose everything. The next morning, the internet exploded. Brittany's company had just announced a live-streamed event, The Truth Behind the Success. Within hours, millions tuned in, expecting another glossy corporate talk. But when Brittany stepped onto the stage, she wasn't dressed like a CEO. No glitter, no pretense, just calm strength in her eyes. She began with a single sentence that silenced everyone. "My parents once gave me a book called How to Grow Up. But what they really taught me was how to grow alone." A hush fell over the audience. Brittany clicked the remote, and behind her photos appeared, old, painful ones. Her father laughing at her broken art project, her mother rolling her eyes at her college rejection letter. Each image was real, each one carrying a weight of truth. "For years," she continued, voice steady, "I was told I wasn't enough. I was mocked for dreaming too big. But while they were busy laughing, I was building, quietly, day and night, until the dream became too loud to ignore." The screen shifted again, this time showing her charity foundations. the women-led startup incubator she'd funded, and the letters she'd sent anonymously to help struggling students. Gasps filled the room. People began clapping, slowly at first, then louder. Brittany paused, eyes glistening. "I didn't grow up to prove them wrong," she said softly. "I grew up to prove to myself that I was always right about who I could be." As she stepped off the stage, cameras flashed, tears fell, and her speech went viral within hours. Even her father's interview disappeared from the headlines, replaced by "Brittany Green's powerful truth breaks the internet." That night, a message appeared on her phone. It was from her father. "You didn't just grow up, Brittany. You rose higher than I ever did. I'm proud of you." She stared at it for a long time, smiled faintly and whispered, "Maybe now. We both finally grew up." Outside her window, the city lights shimmered like stars, reminders of every dark night she had turned into gold. And for the first time in years, Brittany felt peace, not because she won against them, but because she no longer needed to.